Ready, set, hike.
The Market Committee raised its policy interest rate by 0.75 percentage point.
Details on the new interest rate decision from our DC Bureau. A decade of dreamers.
Urging Congress for a permanent bipartisan protection for all of our dreamers.
The law known as DACA turns 10 years old. And White House welcome.
You are loved. You are heard. You are understood. You do belong.
For members of the LGBTQ+ community. These stories and more coming up on Newsbreak.
Hello, South Florida. I'm Paloma Pimentel.
I'm Leanne Abu Tarbouch. Today is Thursday, June 16, 2022.
Live from the South Florida Media Network's Biscayne-based studios in North Miami, this is SFMN Newsbreak.
Major move. Inflation is worse than it has been in decades, so the Federal Reserve is taking action we haven't seen in decades. The Fed has boosted the nation's key interest rates by 0.75 points.
Reporter Yvette Franco from our DC Bureau is in Washington this morning with what that means for borrowers and investors.
Americans may not be smiling after the Federal Reserve announced an interest rate increase of 0.75% to fight inflation. This is the biggest increase in the last 30 years.
Taking aggressive action to tackle the fastest inflation in 4 decades.
Today, the Federal Open Market Committee raised its policy interest rate by 0.75 percentage point and anticipates that ongoing increases in that rate will be appropriate.
These rate hikes will impact millions of American households and investors, pushing up the cost of borrowing for homes, cars, and other loans to try to force a slowdown in the economy.
For people who are first-time home buyers looking to get that mortgage right now, that's going to become much more difficult than it would have a few months ago. People who are in the market to purchase a car are going to have higher borrowing rates today than they did 3 months ago.
Other analysts are hoping for an economic sweet spot.
But I think the Fed has a decent chance, a reasonable chance, of achieving what Jay Powell calls a softish landing, either no recession or a very mild recession to bring inflation down.
Even though the Federal Reserve has increased rates multiple times this year, financial experts say we should be prepared for even higher rates in the next few months. From Washington, D.C., reporting for the South Florida Media Network, Yvette Franco.
Activists are back to working behind the scenes today after taking to the streets to mark 10 years of DACA. As CNN's Gloria Pazmino reports, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program was signed by President Obama on June 15, 2012.
On the 10th anniversary of the DACA program, or Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, immigration activists are holding nationwide rallies to call on lawmakers to take action.
We're urging Congress for a permanent bipartisan protection for all of our dreamers.
10 years after then-President Barack Obama authorized the program through executive action, DACA is still in serious jeopardy. Despite a Supreme Court victory in 2020, Luis Cortez, a lawyer who is covered by the act and who was part of the team that defended DACA in the High Court, says the latest legal hurdle is in the state of Texas.
Part of the big call to action is to remind folks that individuals are still in limbo.
Last year, a federal judge in Texas issued a ruling blocking new DACA applications, essentially closing the doors for anyone not already enrolled in the program.
When we defended the program and we won, it was a big sigh of relief, but we knew that we weren't out of hot water yet, and we were hoping that this is the wake-up call that Congress really was looking for or needed.
Oral arguments in the U.S. Court of Appeals are scheduled for early next month. Meanwhile, for the more than 600,000 dreamers under the program, the anniversary is bittersweet.
So it's like mixed feelings, but overall it's just a feeling of let's get things done.
Samantha Ramirez Herrera launched her production company thanks to DACA. And while she's hopeful, she doubts Congress will take action anytime soon.
We are beyond proving, how exceptional we are. We are beyond proving, our worth.
I'm Gloria Pazmino, reporting.
The program grants some undocumented people a social security number, work permit, and deportation protection. To get approved, they must pass a background check, pay a $495 application fee, and renew every 2 years.
Inmates at a Florida jail saved detention officer from assault while being attacked by another inmate. Deputy Lillian Jimenez at the Hillsborough County Jail was attacked by an inmate who attempted to choke her with a pillowcase and was caught on camera June 7. Officer Jimenez managed to call for the emergency response team on a radio, while several other inmates proceeded to rescue her and remove the pillowcase from around her neck.
As Florida gas prices surge, another gas heist occurs with unidentified suspects that stole 1,000 gallons from a gas pump in St. Cloud, Florida. The police of St. Cloud are looking for two suspects in identical white F-250s who were able to get away with more than $6,000 worth of tanked gas on the bed of their truck, seen to have taken off north. I didn't know I was...
News of a delay this morning for Disney employees who were expected to be moved to the Orlando area. Disney announced yesterday that it is delaying those plans until 2026. The company has pushed back the completion of an upcoming campus in an area called Lake Nona. Earlier this year, the Florida legislature reversed a law that used to give Disney the authority to operate as an independent government.
Marlins fans are still hearing a ringing in their ears this morning after the heartbreaking way the last game ended. There were 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th in Philadelphia yesterday with 2 runners on base. The Phillies hit a walk-off 3-run homer. They beat the Fish 3-1. The Marlins have the day off and play the Mets in New York City tomorrow night.
The president's #1 advisor when it comes to COVID now has some first-hand knowledge.
That's still ahead, and so is the story.
My message to all the young people, just be you.
LGBTQ plus teens getting some presidential protection in the form of an executive order. Newsbreak will be back in 2 minutes.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right. Because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a 4th ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
My mother was always very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. And she didn't know whether she should go forward or turn, and she wasn't even really sure where she was at. It was very unsettling for her.
I felt so much better after my son told me, "Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you and we'll figure it out."
How prepared is your family if a tornado shows up at your doorstep, or a flood, or a hurricane? You can't just turn away a natural disaster. That's why it's important to go to ready.gov/plan now. It has the tools and tips you need to make an emergency plan with your family. So if disaster comes knocking,
let's go.
You'll be ready to help keep your family safe.
It's just a pizza.
Yes.
Make a plan today.
Signed and sealed the president inking protection for LGBTQ teens with a swipe of his pen. President Biden recognizing Pride Month by guaranteeing extra protection for young people.
The president signed an executive order yesterday at the White House. It includes actions to reduce youth suicide and convergent therapy, as well as protection for foster kids.
My message to all the young people, just be you. You are loved. You are heard. You are understood. You do belong. And I want you to know that as your president, all of us on this stage have your back. We have your back.
This executive order comes as some states have introduced laws that could limit the rights of LGBTQ+ people.
The leader of the president's COVID response has tested positive himself. Chief Medical Advisor to the president, Dr. Anthony Fauci, announced yesterday that he's tested positive for COVID-19 on a rapid antigen test. He's 81 years old and is fully vaccinated with both boosters. His symptoms are mild and he plans to keep working from home. He has not had close contact with the president.
That's all the time we have for Newsbreak. I'm Layan Abu Tarbush.
I'm Paloma Pimentel. Get more news anytime at sfmn.fiu.edu.